The microphone crackled as I stood up in the middle of the graduation ceremony. Every head in the auditorium turned toward me. My ex-wife Sarah's face went white. Her new husband Marcus dropped his program. "Excuse me," I said, my voice carrying across the silent crowd. "Before we continue, I have something important to share about who really made this celebration possible." The principal looked confused. Parents murmured. But I kept my eyes locked on Sarah and Marcus in the third row. Marcus was wearing my $15,000 Rolex, the one that had vanished from our house during the divorce, the one he thought I'd never see again. Sarah grabbed his arm. "Sit down, David," she hissed. "You're embarrassing Emma." I smiled. "Oh, I'm just getting started." 20 minutes earlier, I had been sitting alone in the back row of Lincoln High's auditorium. Our daughter Emma was graduating summa cum laude, heading to Stanford on a full academic scholarship. I should have been proud. I was proud. But seeing Sarah and Marcus stroll in like they owned the place made my blood boil. They had positioned themselves front and center, Sarah wearing a designer dress that cost more than most people's rent, Marcus in his perfectly tailored suit. The same Marcus who had been Sarah's business partner for the last 2 years of our marriage. The same Marcus who was now living in the house I had paid for, driving the car I had financed, and apparently wearing my watch. "You weren't invited, but thanks for paying for everything," Sarah had whispered when she spotted me. Her voice carried that familiar tone of practiced cruelty she had perfected during our divorce proceedings. Marcus had smirked, adjusting my watch on his wrist. "Yeah, David. Real generous of you." That's when I realized they had no idea what I knew. No idea what I had been preparing for months. No idea that this graduation was about to become something very different than what they expected. I had pulled out my phone and typed a quick message. "It's time. Send it to everyone." The response came back immediately. "Done." The email blast just went out to all 347 contacts. Before I dive deeper into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments, and if you're enjoying this already, hit that like button and subscribe. I promise this story has twists you won't see coming. The ceremony had started normally enough. Principal Williams gave his opening remarks. The valedictorian delivered her speech. But I wasn't really listening. I was watching Sarah and Marcus, waiting for the moment when their phones would start buzzing. You see, 3 months ago I had hired a private investigator. Not for the reasons you might think. The divorce had been finalized for over a year. I wasn't trying to win Sarah back or get revenge on Marcus. I was trying to protect Emma's future. During our marriage, Sarah had insisted on managing our finances. She was good with numbers, she said. She had an MBA after all. What I didn't know was that she had been systematically draining our accounts, transferring money to offshore investments that she claimed were for our future. When the divorce proceedings began, Sarah presented financial documents showing that our assets were far less than I remembered. The house had a second mortgage I didn't know about. The business accounts were nearly empty. My retirement funds had somehow evaporated. "Poor David," she had said during mediation. "You never were good with money." But I had kept my own records. Receipts, bank statements, screenshots of account balances, hidden in a safety deposit box that Sarah didn't know existed. The private investigator had confirmed what I suspected. Sarah hadn't just hidden our money during the divorce. She had been embezzling from her own company for years, using sophisticated shell companies and fake invoices. The woman who had painted me as financially irresponsible had stolen nearly $3 million. Marcus wasn't just her new boyfriend. He was her partner in crime. Literally. During the principal's speech, I saw Sarah's phone light up. She glanced at it and frowned. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. His expression changed from smug satisfaction to confusion. More phones started lighting up around the auditorium. Parents checking messages during what should have been a solemn ceremony. The murmuring started softly, then grew louder. Sarah's head whipped around, her eyes scanning the crowd. She was starting to understand that something was very wrong. I had spent months preparing for this moment. Not just gathering evidence, but timing everything perfectly. The FBI had been investigating Sarah's company for 8 months. The IRS had opened their own parallel investigation 6 months ago. The divorce court had sealed our proceedings, but federal investigators had ways of accessing sealed records. Last week, the federal prosecutor had called me. "Mr. Richardson," she had said, "we're ready to move forward. The grand jury has voted to indict both Sarah Martinez and Marcus Chin on federal charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. When will you arrest them?" I had asked. "We wanted to coordinate with you. We understand your daughter is graduating this weekend. We can wait until Monday if you prefer. I had thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. No, I had said. Do it Saturday. During the graduation ceremony. Make it public. The prosecutor had paused. That's unusual. Are you sure? I'm sure. Sarah destroyed my reputation during our divorce. She made everyone believe I was the irresponsible one. It's time for the truth to come out. But I hadn't left it to chance. I had also prepared my own reveal. The email that had just gone out to every parent, teacher, and school board member contained everything. Bank records showing Sarah's embezzlement. FBI documents confirming the investigation. Photos of Marcus wearing my stolen watch. Screenshots of text messages between Sarah and Marcus discussing their plans to hide assets from the divorce court. And most importantly, the full forensic accounting report showing exactly how much money Sarah had stolen. Not just from her company, but from Emma's college fund, from our retirement accounts, from the scholarship foundation I had started in my father's memory. Sarah's phone kept buzzing. She was getting message after message. Her face was turning red, then pale, then red again. Marcus tried to stay calm, but I could see his hands shaking as he scrolled through his messages. The principal was now introducing the guest speaker, a local business leader who donated generously to the school. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sarah had convinced everyone that I was too broke to contribute to the school fundraisers. Meanwhile, she was spending stolen money on designer clothes and expensive vacations. Parents and families, the principal continued, let's give a warm welcome to. That's when the first siren sounded in the distance. Sarah's head snapped toward the auditorium entrance. Marcus half stood, then sat back down, clearly torn between running and trying to maintain appearances. The sirens were getting closer. I pulled out my phone and sent another message. They're almost here. Right on schedule. Are you enjoying this story so far? If you are, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The auditorium doors burst open just as the guest speaker reached the podium. 6 FBI agents in tactical gear strode down the center aisle. Parents gasped. Students craned their necks to see what was happening. The guest speaker stopped mid-sentence. Sarah Martinez and Marcus Chin, the lead agent announced, his voice carrying clearly through the silent auditorium. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. That's when I stood up. Excuse me, I said, my voice carrying across the silent crowd. Before we continue, I have something important to share about who really made this celebration possible. The microphone was still on from the guest speaker's introduction. The principal handed it to me without thinking, probably assuming I was going to help explain the situation. I looked directly at Sarah and Marcus. They were frozen in their seats, FBI agents approaching from both sides. 3 years ago, I said, my ex-wife told everyone that I was financially irresponsible, that I had squandered our family's money, that I couldn't even afford to contribute to Emma's education. The crowd was dead silent. Emma was staring at me from the stage, her graduation cap slightly askew, her face a mixture of confusion and horror. What Sarah didn't tell you, I continued, was that she had stolen nearly $3 million from her own company. Money that should have gone to Emma's college fund. Money that should have gone to the children's scholarship program we established in my father's memory. Sarah tried to stand, but an FBI agent placed a firm hand on her shoulder. You want to know who paid for Emma's SAT prep classes? I did. Who funded her science fair projects, her debate team travel expenses, her college application fees? I did. With money I earned working double shifts while my ex-wife was busy embezzling from her clients. Marcus finally tried to run. He pushed past the parents in his row, heading for the side exit. But 2 FBI agents were already positioned there. And Marcus, I called out, my voice echoing through the auditorium. Thank you for wearing my stolen Rolex to my daughter's graduation. It made identifying you so much easier. Marcus froze. His hand went instinctively to his wrist, then dropped to his side. The FBI agents were closing in from both directions now. You have the right to remain silent, one agent was saying to Sarah. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. But Sarah wasn't staying silent. David, you bastard, she screamed, her carefully maintained composure finally cracking. You planned this. You ruined everything. No, I said, still speaking into the microphone. You ruined everything. You stole from children, Sarah. From sick kids who needed medical treatment. From families trying to send their children to college. You stole from our own daughter. The crowd was murmuring now, pieces of the story starting to come together in their minds. Several parents were checking their phones, reading the emails that had gone out 20 minutes earlier. The full documentation of Sarah's crimes, sent to everyone who had ever questioned my character during the divorce. Emma was crying now, her hands covering her face. This wasn't how I had wanted her to find out, but there was no gentle way to learn that your mother was a federal criminal. The money Sarah stole, I continued, funded her lifestyle for the past 3 years. The designer clothes, the expensive vacations, the luxury car. All of it paid for with money stolen from people who trusted her. Marcus had given up trying to escape. The FBI agents had him in handcuffs now, reading him his rights while he stared at the floor in defeat. But here's what she didn't know, I said, my voice growing stronger. I've been working with federal investigators for 8 months. Every dollar she stole has been traced. Every fake invoice, every shell company, every offshore account. It's all been documented and frozen by the FBI. Sarah was sobbing now, but they were tears of rage, not remorse. The house you've been living in, Sarah? It was purchased with stolen money. It's being seized. The car, the jewelry, the art collection? All of it bought with funds embezzled from your clients. All of it evidence in a federal criminal case. The FBI agents were leading them both toward the exit now. Sarah twisted around to look at me one last time. I hope you're happy, she spat. I'm not happy, I replied. I'm relieved. Relieved that the truth is finally out. Relieved that Emma can start her adult life without carrying the weight of your lies. As they reached the auditorium doors, Sarah made one last desperate attempt to shift the blame. Ask him about the safety deposit box, she screamed at the crowd. Ask him about the money he's been hiding. I smiled. You mean the safety deposit box where I kept copies of all our real financial records? The one that proved you were lying during our divorce proceedings? The FBI already has everything, Sarah. They've had it for months. The doors closed behind them. The auditorium was silent except for the sound of Emma crying on the stage. I handed the microphone back to the principal and walked toward the stage. Every eye in the room followed me, but I didn't care. My daughter needed me. The graduation ceremony resumed after a 20-minute delay, but nobody's heart was really in it. The principal made a brief statement about unfortunate circumstances and asked everyone to focus on celebrating the achievements of the graduating class. Emma received her diploma with red eyes and a shaky smile. When her name was called, the applause was subdued, sympathetic. She was no longer just the valedictorian heading to Stanford. She was the girl whose mother had just been arrested by the FBI. After the ceremony, parents approached me with a mixture of apology and curiosity. Many of them had believed Sarah's version of events during our divorce. They had seen me as the deadbeat dad who couldn't even afford to contribute to school fundraisers. David, said Mrs. Patterson, whose daughter had been Emma's lab partner. I owe you an apology. We all do. We should have known Sarah was lying. You couldn't have known, I replied. She was very good at what she did. Too good. Emma found me in the parking lot an hour later. Her graduation gown was wrinkled, her cap forgotten somewhere inside the auditorium. Dad, she said, her voice small and uncertain. Is it true? All of it?
I pulled her into a hug. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I wanted to tell you privately, but the timing. How long have you known? I suspected something during the divorce, but I couldn't prove it. The FBI investigation started 8 months ago. I've been cooperating with them, but I couldn't tell anyone. Not even you. She was quiet for a long moment, processing everything she had just witnessed. The college fund, she said finally. Was there really no money left? There was money, I said. Your mother had hidden it in accounts she thought I couldn't find. The FBI has recovered most of it. Your Stanford tuition is secure. Emma pulled back to look at me. And the watch? She really gave Marcus your watch. I laughed, surprising myself. Among other things, the FBI will return all the stolen property as evidence is processed. Though honestly, I'm not sure I want the watch back after seeing it on his wrist. Over the following weeks, the local news covered Sarah and Marcus's arrests extensively. The Financial Crimes Unit estimated that they had stolen over $4.2 million from Sarah's company and client. The money had been used to fund their lavish lifestyle while portraying me as the financially irresponsible ex-husband. Emma struggled with the revelation about her mother, but she was resilient. She started therapy to process the betrayal and deception that had shaped her teenage years. She also began to understand why I had worked so many double shifts, why I had always seemed stressed about money, why I had been so insistent about saving every receipt and keeping detailed financial record. The scholarship fund I had started in my father's memory was restored with the recovered embezzled funds. Sarah had stolen $180,000 that was meant to help underprivileged students attend college. That money was now helping 12 kids pursue their dreams. 3 months later, Sarah and Marcus both pled guilty to federal charges. Sarah received 8 years in federal prison. Marcus got 6 years. The judge noted that their crimes had devastating effects on the victims and their families, including the defendant's own daughter. At Emma's request, we didn't attend the sentencing hearing. She was already settling into life at Stanford, making new friends, excelling in her pre-med courses. She wanted to focus on building her future, not dwelling on her mother's crimes. The house Sarah and Marcus had been living in was sold by the federal marshals. The proceeds went toward restitution for Sarah's victims. The luxury cars, jewelry, and artwork followed. Sarah's designer wardrobe was donated to charity. Emma asked me once if I felt guilty about the public nature of their arrest. "Do you regret doing it during graduation?" she asked during one of our weekly phone calls. I thought about it carefully before answering. "I regret that it hurt you," I said. "But I don't regret exposing the truth. Your mother destroyed my reputation and made people believe I was a deadbeat father who couldn't provide for his own child. She did it publicly during our divorce proceedings. She deserved to face the consequences publicly too. And you're not worried about what people think?" "Emma," I said, "for 3 years I've lived with people thinking I was irresponsible with money, that I had somehow squandered our family's future. I've had parents avoid me at school events, assuming I couldn't contribute to fundraisers or class trip. I've watched you make excuses for why your dad wasn't more involved financially. The truth needed to come out." 6 months after graduation, I received a letter forwarded from Sarah's prison. She had written to apologize, to explain her actions, to ask for forgiveness. I read it once and threw it away. Some betrayals are too deep for apologies to bridge. But I kept the letter Emma wrote me after her first semester at Stanford. "Dad," it said, "I understand now why you always told me to keep receipts, to document everything, to never trust someone else completely with my financial future. I understand why you worked so hard to teach me about money and responsibility and integrity. You weren't being paranoid or controlling. You were protecting our family from someone who was systematically destroying it. Thank you for never giving up, even when everyone believed you were the problem. Thank you for fighting for the truth. Thank you for teaching me that sometimes doing the right thing means standing up in front of everyone and refusing to be silent anymore." That letter is framed in my office now, next to Emma's Stanford acceptance letter and a photo of her receiving her diploma. It reminds me that sometimes the most difficult conversations, the most uncomfortable confrontations, the most public revelations are necessary to protect the people we love. If you've made it this far in the story, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between keeping the peace and exposing the truth? How did you handle it? I read every comment, and your perspectives help me understand different ways to navigate these complex situations. Sarah and Marcus thought they had won. They had the house, the cars, the money, the social standing. They had successfully painted me as the irresponsible ex-husband who couldn't even afford to contribute to his daughter's education. But they made one crucial mistake. They underestimated the power of patience, preparation, and persistence. They thought that hiding money and manipulating financial records made them smart. They forgot that the truth has a way of surfacing, especially when someone is willing to work systematically to uncover it. Sometimes justice isn't immediate. Sometimes it takes months or years of careful documentation, of working with investigators, of gathering evidence piece by piece. But when it finally arrives, it arrives completely. Emma graduated magna cum laude from Stanford 3 years later. I was there in the front row, wearing a new watch, proud of the strong, ethical, resilient young woman she had become despite everything she had experienced. This time, there were no FBI agents at graduation, no dramatic arrest, no stolen watches or hidden bank account. Just a father watching his daughter receive the education she had earned, funded by money that had been stolen from her and then recovered through the patient pursuit of justice. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply refusing to let the truth stay buried.